Yeah, I mean, so the big picture is basically, I mean, we launched this thing about 10 weeks ago. I met you prior to launch in mid-November. Um, Slow out of the gates. Product had all kinds of kinks. I mean, we went down on opening night, so stability was an issue. Basically, the last 6 or so weeks, I mean, we've been kind of taking off, and so the whole time since we've launched, we've been taking. I mean, we're adding tons of users. We're getting tons of traction. If you go to the site now versus even a month ago, you'll see a bunch of sessions, a bunch of people engaging. So we got a ton of traction. We're growing, and actually, so because of that, our investors are ponying up another $3 million in the form of a convertible loan. We just don't have time to raise a Series B right now. There's too much going on. We've got some big distribution deals going internationally. We've got some new functionalities. We're trying to hone the product because we're getting a ton of user feedback. So we raised a $3 million convertible loan. Investors basically ponied up. It's probably the most entrepreneur-friendly thing I've ever seen because the loan is it's the only document I've ever looked at. Had no negotiations, just sign it and we're good to go. Two reasons. One, we want to be able to support the growth and not have to stall things while we go out and look for fundraising. And then to that point, we've got quite a few VCs who are interested in investing, as well as some potential strategic partners, some distribution partners. So what we don't want to do is kind of like jump the gun and make a hasty Series B with investors who maybe aren't going to add as much value. We'd rather be able to kind of pace ourselves, bring in the top investors into the round, and not have to necessarily focus on slowing down or stalling some of the product enhancements. So this buys us a lot of time, gives us some comfort. We will raise a Series B of about 8 to 10 million, but it doesn't need to be in February or March. We needed money if we wanted to do what I wanted to do. I mean, we're growing. I wanted to continue to support the growth and actually ramp up as the targets and projections we've hit and we're looking to hit. We needed the money, and also just to hire up to support. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, and we want to seize as much of the market right now as we can. If we didn't get the money, we would have been basically forced to do a Series B in March, April, or run out of money. From a user traction perspective, there's a couple targets. We look at number of introductions. I mean, that's obviously specific to our product. We look at registered users, which we can't share right now. We're trying to keep that covert for the time being, but we're making, let's put it this way, we're on the same pace as Facebook was after 3 months. Not to say we will be Facebook, but the point is we're also not one of these sites that kind of blipped and sort of stalling around. We're kind of ramping up, flirting with sort of that consumer phenomena. But the numbers the numbers I've thrown out are, like I said, 250,000 introductions. We're doing north of 1,000 sessions a day now. So you remember the speed session concept we've got. 100% of the sessions are all user created, and we're doing now north of 1,000. So we've got over 1,000 sessions a day created and filled by users that play. What else we got? We've got 138 countries are represented on the site. Not equally, obviously. The bulk is from the U.S. And then English-speaking countries like Canada, UK, some of Latin America with some broken English, some Frenchmen like yourself with their broken English. But it's far more international than we thought. So that's good.
But the U.S. is still the main market?
U.S. is still about 70%. And then you've got Canada, UK, Brazil, probably in an aggregate making up another 15 or 20%. And then the rest of the world, China, France, some other countries are kind of, in Germany actually, make up the bulk. But you've got people, I mean, I met a woman from Iran, believe it or not. I mean, the reality is what we launched just 2 months ago was not exactly in line with how the product's being used. I mean, there's all sorts of adjustments we've had to make to kind of line up with the reality of how the product's being used by real users. For example, I mean, one example I'll give you is just the whole, remember I took you through the scheduling of a session? I mean, you'd schedule it for 6:30 to start in 5 minutes or something, or 7 o'clock, or tomorrow at 2 or whatever. But this is all about real time. The reality is people just want to kind of come play real time sessions. And so now, I mean, we schedule a session. It's just name the session and then tell it, drop down 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, or 10 minutes. And boom, as soon as we did that, the number of sessions created just shot to the roof. Time on sites, little things like nudges, for example. So people want to be able to kind of flirt with somebody. It's all real time, so it's not like a Facebook nudge. You get a nudge, you nudge back. You're kind of like playing ping pong with somebody. You kind of nudge back and forth. It's sort of a weird, fun thing. Putting that in, for example, is that with a couple other improvements is almost double the time on site and increase the engagement by 30%. So it's little features like that users wanted. They want IM. That's a huge one. That's going to, we get IM, and that's going to at least double the time on site. That's going to be big because right now we're literally driving people off the site. So they match, they want to talk more, and And the only way they can do it is, hey, what's your IM? Hey, here's my aim, that kind of thing. And so tons of feedback sent to us and direct on getting instant messaging in there, so that's coming.
So why IM? I mean, you're on a video, you're chatting live with the person.
Well, the IM is once you have that connection. So generally the way it works, if you look at sort of how it's used, you'll have people meet in some sessions. And let's say I meet a girl in a session, and then actually maybe she woos me and I woo her. Maybe we play another session. Maybe actually I call her out in the session and say, hey, Annie, let's do one more. And then maybe we have another little chat, and then at that point, she'll email me, hey, what's your aim? Or something along those lines, because there's no way to kind of communicate with your. We didn't really think that through. I mean, we did think it through. We just didn't think it was as big as it was. The reality is, once we get aim in there, and you can actually match with somebody, and then have little IM conversations going through different matches, time on site is going to go through the roof. Features, another feature we added, which I didn't mention, is online now or recently joined. So if you want to see everybody who's online now, we'll show you that status. If you want to see everybody who's kind of recently joined, you can kind of see on a page and who's joined most recently. The way we did it initially, when we rolled that out, it was making calls to the database, and it kept bringing it down, so we've had to make adjustments so that we display that data or cache some of the online now. I mean, there's all sorts of different architectural components as well. But all that's, I mean, the only way we could have found out about that stuff is under load. So we throw stuff out there, we see how it performs under load, and then we can fix it. And that's why I say we're finally now, and to be honest, that's pretty quick, after 10 weeks, getting the product to a point where we feel comfortable.
Right. Have you seen any competitors so far?
Actually, it's interesting. I mean, we get compared to another online speed dating company quite a bit, but the reality is it's twofold. One, we're kind of killing them on numbers, but two, they're much more of a niche kind of dating play, a one-on-one. They're going after that kind of hardcore, dating hearts and soulmates sort of thing. We're going to go, eHarmony. Whereas our demo's 18 to 24, and actually they've never heard of, or they don't participate in any hardcore dating sites. They actually don't like the dating stigma. And we're sort of a live introductions platform. That's how we position ourselves. It's kind of like a bar. You go meet people, but there's no we try to completely stay away from the stigma. Our tagline is introducing the world. And we've got this whole session-based thing where users create their own sessions. So it's a long-winded answer, but to answer your question, the real competitors are actually starting to surface in Europe. So interestingly enough, some of our investors have seen a few business plans coming out of Germany. And so you're starting to see, and actually, funny enough, the business plans in their pitch say, hey, you can't get in on WooMe, but we're going to do the same thing for the German market. Or there's one in Amsterdam we've seen, which is the exact same thing as WooMe. Business plans for that have come through our investors as well. So we're starting to see competitors come out more on the international front, which is, again, why we want to get some international distribution deals in place first and really try to establish some leadership. The environment, from what I understand and talking to some of my peers, is that it's actually tightening up. And when you talk to some of the VCs, they actually expect it to tighten up more over the next 4 to 6 months, which is part of a reason why we may actually look to kind of close the Series B before we need to. 1,000 sessions per day, we actually want to have that up to 2,500 in April. I mean, our visits are going up. We're looking at, again, the visits I can't divulge either, but our visits have, like I said, I mean, opening night, when you get all the press, granted, we went down, so our visits were down a little bit for the night, but we had a blip on opening night, and now we're 4 times where that wasn't opening night. So visits continue to trend up. We've got a pretty small team, and the reality is we can't get as much product improvements out there or as many distribution deals as we could if we had a bigger team. So now we're actually starting to hire. We brought on 3 people in the last 2 weeks, and then we brought an additional if you look over the last, since the holidays, we've actually added 5 people to the team with a few more. So we've gone from 10 to 15. In the early days, I mean, we kind of got where we've gotten so far on 1.9 million that we raised a year ago to build the product. So we had to keep things very tight. We had basically 10 full-time employees and a couple contractors doing all we've done. And we would have had continued on that path. Now that we've got the funding, and when we knew we'd get this funding, we actually started hiring up a bit. And now it's increased our speed to market. It's increased our alacrity in a lot of ways. So we got 15 people now, and we'll probably end up with about 25 by the end of March. 70% technical or product, and then the rest is marketing. And then I'm just overhead. I don't fit in any of those functional buckets. But it's primarily development, and then on the marketing front, we'll have a team of about 5 or 6 with the biz dev guy.